Welcome to Eden Prairie High School as Perfect Storm Broadcasting proudly presents high school wrestling. I'm Mike Peden, and joining me is Mike York, our engineer, and Krister, our camera operator. We have a Lake Conference Triangular awaiting us tonight, and it will start with the Minnetonka Skippers and the Edina Hornets. Now, we are going to start, I believe, with junior varsity. If that is indeed the case, and if so, then these scores won't be tabbed. And it looks that way. So we are starting with the junior varsity competition. Varsity will take place a little bit later. So we can... Are we still on? That was just me confirming that we are still on the air. Don't mind that, fans. So, Edina is a relatively new program. They had done a co-op with Richfield for many years and decided to split off and become their own independent program this season. So they're still in the building stages. And that's one reason why Minnetonka is going to play two opponents tonight, and Eden Prairie is going to play one. And Minnetonka class. Minnetonka scored 6. So because they're going from 106 to 170. So esports. And then Minnetonka will play Eden Prairie. So Minnetonka getting 2 matches tonight, but that is possible in part because the schools often have more than one wrestler for each class. Of course, that changes when you get to the state wrestling tournament, and you have to pick one wrestler, and then you also have the individual rounds. So the score you see is for the junior varsity between Minnetonka and Edina, and they lead 6-0. And let's talk a little more about the scoring system as we get closer to the start of our two contests. Now you see the official. He has a red and green band alongside each wrist. And he had just signaled 2 points for red, which is Minnetonka. So Minnetonka has 2 points. Minnetonka getting 2 points in the match score, or in the individual score, and the wrestlers will have a color-coded piece of apparel to identify which school they belong to. Class. So when the official lifts one of his hands and points, that will indicate that a point has been offered. So Minnetonka conceding a point to the Edina wrestler. But when you see fingers pointed up, that tells the scores table to count the point for a particular competitor. You can score up to 3 points in a single move. Whoever is stopped automatically in the 3-6. And if there is a tie in any of the individual matches, we will have, right now still looking at building, and it's 4-3 as you see our score. Well, we've reached the end of the second period, and now Edina's JV wrestler at the 170 class. Perry Angelos is leading Minnetonka. And Perry Angelos, I want to mention him because I was told by the Edina coaching staff that his birth name is Pericles Angelos. So that is quite interesting. So that's what to expect here in this triangular. Again, two matches, 3 teams. Minnetonka will play both. And it's not uncommon, actually, to have a triangular or a quadrangular having multiple matches. And you can see the out-of-bounds area. And there's a fall for Edina, so that ties the score at 6. Now in JV, as you may have seen, this is the 170-pound class. They do not award forfeits. They just simply run through the classes as they move along. Since JV is I'm accustomed to. I've done a couple of high school wrestling matches, and they usually go up each weight class. So we're here at 152. Well, we want to let you know that this webcast is brought to you in part by Noodles & Company. Noodles & Company now has catering with home delivery available. Each Noodles bar features the items needed for your event and for your guests. More information about catering and the Noodles bar available at noodles.com/catering. Tonka looking for another pin here. $5-0. Again, still don't quite have the names of each wrestler. The EP Minnetonka match will take place at about 7 o'clock. 5-0 as we get ready for the second period, with Minnetonka's wrestler leading Edina. We're still working out on some things as we get closer. We have a couple more matches in the JV portion of this meet before we move on to the varsity competition, but we do know who our first set of wrestlers are going to be. At least we believe so. And if we can find out who will compete against Edina, we will let you know in this triangular competition. Edina, I can say this much, the contenders who will not be wrestling today are Paul Reddy, he's a scratch, Spencer Jarvie, Will Toomey, James Allenberg, Charlie Reagan, Brian Yang, McAllister Kosar, Evan Osborne, and Matthias Dwayne. And 12-2 the final in this one, so that's 4 points added to Minnetonka's score in the JV category. And our next match is underway. So at this point, Minnetonka with a 10-6 lead in this JV portion of the triangular. And if Minnetonka can get at least 3 points, in other words, a decision in this next match, they would win automatically. And that's the element that high school wrestling provides, is a little bit of a mathematics involved. So if you can extrapolate, you can get a sense of what needs to happen in order for Team X to win, Team X to clinch, or Team Y to win. Not quite as dramatic as playoffs per se, but when we get there, we will. Getting some more updates here. We apologize if this seems a little slow or a little sluggish. Again, we have to get through the JV portion before the varsity, and we were scheduled to start at 5, so which means we go on the air at 5 o'clock, even though we're still waiting to get this wrapped up here. But the varsity roster for Minnetonka is going to be virtually identical. Now, there will be a couple of blanks, of course, so in those cases there will be forfeits involved. But the roster that Minnetonka has here is the roster that you are likely going to see, barring a last-minute change. And if we get that, folks like Jake Finken, Bixler Henry will get involved. Reniger Logan also taking the mat tonight. And we also want to let you know that if you are interested in tonight's hockey coverage, we will have that for you as well here on PSB. Perfect Storm Broadcasting, the Eden Prairie Eagles taking on the Edina Hornets in Lake Conference competition, a battle of two powers in the sport of hockey. That will start at about 7 o'clock. You can go to psbmn.com for details. Now, one thing that you can do, there is a weight limit with each class, and that's is where this comes into play. But if you will wrestle under a certain weight level, you can class up. You can't class down. So, for example, a competitor can be registered at the 126 weight class and be moved up to 132. But you could not be at a 132 and go down to a 126. At the end of the third period, okay, we're about to start the third period, I should say, at the 182 class, and you see that it's a 6-4 score in favor of Minnetonka. So if this wrestler can maintain that margin, at least win by a point, that would be 3 points awarded. But Edina just scored 2 there, so that would force a draw. But if Minnetonka is able to score and they get 1 point on the escape, now Edina's got the wrestler pinned. So if Minnetonka can hang on these next 2 minutes and get the win, although they're trailing by a point in this case, if Edina were to win, then the winner of the next match, regardless of the score, would win the JV portion of this meet. We have our equipment, though, is in order here, and Edina has an 11-9 lead. So, again, if they were to win, they would get at least 3 points, unless they get a bunch of points here these next few seconds, and that would make the winner of the final match, the winner of this JV contest. Edina with an 11-9 victory here. That gets them 3 points. That makes the score 10-9 with one more class at this level. So, no math needed. The winner of this next match will decide the winner of this JV portion, and then we will start the real wrestling. So, one more match, so in just a few minutes we will have the Edina and Minnetonka varsity wrestlers underway here on Perfect Storm Broadcasting. So before we get there, if you're watching us right now and you want to send us your information, or send us a shout out or any other information you feel will be useful, you can send me a tweet at The Sports Brain. The Sports Brain. That is The Sports and Brain. Take those 3 words, mesh them together, no scores, no spaces, and you can send us live tweets on the air. We'd certainly like to hear from you. And we certainly would love any background information you have on the wrestlers, I should say, not on you guys. Some stories, shout-outs, where you might be watching from. Really want to get a taste of our audience, as we do for every broadcast. So if you're watching and want to send us a notice, just hit me up at The Sports Brain, and of course you can also send us email feedback as well. Just click on the email link on the PSB screen. So one more match here at the 220 class, and then we'll move on to the varsity competition. So don't go out too far. Our live coverage of the Eden Prairie Triangular, featuring the Eagles, the Minnetonka Skippers, and the Edina Hornets, will be initiating in a few moments. And Edina winning on a fall, so that makes the score of the JV competition 15-10. So Edina winning the JV portion of the triangular, and now we will reset the score to move to varsity here. And we will have names for you, so that blank space you see on our screen will be filled in by names. But yeah, you have an idea of how this works. Now the wrestlers will return to their benches, and we will get in position to host the varsity portion of this competition. Now, as we noted, at the varsity level, Edina has some blanks, and in those cases, forfeits are awarded. So Minnetonka is going to score several points just out of that element alone. And it was actually a forfeit that led to a tie or co-champion a few years ago in the Class 2A state championship. I called a couple of those back in the day, and the high school league doesn't have a tie-breaking format, which is a little odd. So sometimes you get those goofy co-champion years. Doesn't happen often, but when you have a tie score, they choose not to go with a tiebreaker. Hopefully we don't have one of those today. Well, I know we're not going to have any co-champions today, but wrestlers are stretching. And the captains and coaches will now meet up. So as we get the meeting, let's get the roster back. I want to thank another one of our sponsors, Athlete PT. Championships begin before the fans arrive. Whether you're a professional athlete set on reaching your peak performance, a weekend warrior wanting to stay fit and live well, or somewhere in between, Athlete PT gives you the edge you need to succeed. Athlete PT. Championships begin here. AthletePTOnline.com. Athlete PT, one of our sponsors, and we want to thank all of you for our support, and that includes the viewers out there. So we are about to get started here. And the combatants shake hands, and we're about to start. And as you can see, we are underway now with our first competition. And as you can see on the screen, Minnetonka's Jake Finken is battling Edina's Ben Gustafson at the 106 class. This is the smallest. There are 14 classes in all in a standard wrestling competition. But in the event where schools are missing wrestlers in a certain class, as we noted, a forfeit is awarded. Edina has several of those blanks, so Minnetonka is going to get an edge just by that virtue. Finken with the first 2 points of this competition, as he has Gustafson in a headlock. And the fall's awarded, so Minnetonka making quick work in 1 minute and 10 seconds. Jake Finken gets the Skippers 6 points. So they will take a 6-0 lead. And then for 113, we have a fall awarded. So, and then 120 as well, because that is also a blank. Minnetonka gets 12 points, so they'll have 18. So it's a quick 18-0 start for the Skippers. And again, that's because Edina does not have wrestlers in those categories. As we noted at the start of this broadcast, Edina and Henry Bixler getting the forfeit. Now again, these wrestlers, now we're going to head to our next one where there is a slot. It's going to be the 126 class, and that will be Sergio Loaiza Rodriguez going up against Kyle Finken. So Kyle Finken going to 126 as instead of his usual 132. Even though their weight is listed as, I alluded to somewhat, there is some leeway as far as where you can move up. You can weight allowance, you can drop it down a class or go up a class as well. And 2 points awarded to Minnetonka, so that's Sergio Loaiza Rodriguez and Kyle Finken. And Finken with a 4-0 lead over Rodriguez in the first period. And I don't know if we're going to be able to fit the entire name on the screen. So I think you'll get it. It's Sergio Loaiza Rodriguez and a fall. So we don't have to worry about names for long. The fall. Kyle Finken records it, so Minnetonka, that took 42 seconds. They lead 24-0. And now we'll move to the 132 class. So Minnetonka leads 24-0 as we head to the 132-pound class. And that will feature Edina's Hayden Vosbeek against Jake McGann, we believe. All right, Vosbeek and McGann underway. Again, the 132-pound class in Minnetonka is up considerably in this one, and it looks like McGann is taking control. As we noted, Edina, this is their first year as an independent wrestling program. The last several years was a co-op with Richfield. It was profiled in the Minnesota State High School League by John Millay, who noted a decline in wrestling, although one of the stats I found a little odd. He mentioned the number of schools that dropped by about 10 in the last 10 years. I don't know if that's enough to consider it a decline, but wrestling still has a massive, if you want to call it a cult following. That's Ben McGann. Letting our graphics guy know who's competing in this one. Or Jake McGann, that's who it is. It's difficult when I don't have access to the roster sheet next to me here. We'll see if maybe we can get another one and we can get this sorted out. No score in this matchup. Reaching the end of the first period, and McGann and Vosbeek have not scored. Jake McGann will take the down position to start the second period. And that's one reason why they do it. 1 point on the escape for Jake McGann. That's one reason you'll see the wrestler take the down position. And we'll try to get everything sorted out here as we continue on. And as you know, there's an out-of-bounds circle, but this is by far the closest match we have had among the wrestlers thus far, although Minnetonka is up considerably here. Again, thanks to 2 pins and 2 forfeits. There will be another pair of forfeits later on, Edina having gaps at the 152 and 160-pound class. Going out of bounds again. So they meet up in neutral position. And when we get to the Eden Prairie-Minnetonka portion of our meet, they will lower, there's a light that's above, they will lower it, and it's common actually at these wrestling meets to have a single light and add a little bit of ambience to the arena.
Zoom in a little.
5 seconds, and both wrestlers haven't been able to get much of a grasp on each other, and we're going to end the second period with no score. Which means McGann is going to take a 1-0 lead. This time Vosbeek will start in the down position. McGann takes the up spot. Vosbeek not able to escape. Jake McGann keeping his grasp. Not for long, though. Vosbeek does finally get the escape on him. So we're tied at 1 in the third period, 90 seconds left. And if we do have a tie, there will be an overtime session. Again, looking for a potential takedown, unable to get one. Tries again. Almost had him, but instead it's Vosbeek getting 2 points for the reversal, trying to get the righting time, looking for a fall. Also known as a pin. You see the official. 30 seconds. A pin would be big for Edina, even if they can't get the win here. And they get the pin. So Vosbeek gives Edina its first victory in the varsity competition. Comes in the third period, so 5 minutes and 36 seconds into this competition. Vosbeek wins on a fall, and it's 24-6 in favor of Minnetonka. We'll now head to the 138-pound class, and John Drum will go up against Juan Uribe. We'll get the names up on screen in a moment. And a lot of the wrestlers that you see for Minnetonka at this stage will be wrestling Eden Prairie in a short amount of time. Two points awarded to John Drum. And Minnetonka with a 2-0 lead in the first period. We're not in the third yet. 2-point takedown is the ruling. You hear the coaching as from the Minnetonka side, Drum has been able to maintain his grasp on Uribe for the first period. Now he's getting some riding time. Not enough for a point. Now he does get 2. 2 points for the near fall. And as you know, if you may have picked up, if you can't get the fall, but you can get some riding time, you will get points for maintaining a grasp on your wrestler. And there's another near fall, so another 2 points for Drum, and he will have a 6-0 advantage at the end of one period. Now, as we noted, if he can get up to 8 or more, it would be a major. Worth 4 points. So Drum doesn't have enough to get that extra point yet, but you still have 2 periods of play. Uribe choosing to take the down position to start the second period, and you'll see that when wrestlers are presented with that choice, that is often the selection they will make to try to get the escape and score a quick point. But John Drum has been riding the back, metaphorically speaking, on Uribe. And Uribe has just been not able to evade John Drum. John Drum, the senior. And he has dominated this match from the start. The official making the count. And the officials will award 3 points for the near fall. So Drum now has a 9-0 lead on Uribe. Drum able to keep Uribe in bounds. Gets another countdown. The coaching staff telling John to lift his head, meaning lift the head of Uribe to try to get the pin. There it is. So just before the end of the second period, John Drum gets the fall. Minnetonka up 30-6 as we move on to the 145-pound class, which will feature James Agan of Minnetonka going up against Colin Tate of Edina. James Agan. Now they get that. We had to get the name in so we could announce it. That's spelled with an A, Mike. A-G-A-N. We have up to the minute. It reads Agan James in our program, but that's simply a misprint. They rearranged the first and last names. It's James Agan going up against Colin Tate. As we are in the 145-pound class, Minnetonka has been in control, and a 2-point takedown is awarded to James Agan. Agan making quick work of Tate here in the first period. Minnetonka coach Josh Ree says pick his head up, and that's why he gets the fall. So another one. Minnetonka, all their points have come through falls, and it's 36-0, and that lead is about to expand with 2 more blanks at the 152 and 160 classes. So Minnetonka is going to score more than enough points here to win this. Gray Lidke winning via forfeit. And the same will happen for 160. So our next slot, Edina now has wrestlers for the remainder of this competition. Noah Sawatsky. Or will there be? Avery Garski and Noah Sawatsky at 170 pounds. Minnetonka now has a 48-6 lead. There's only 5 more wrestlers left, so Minnetonka has secured enough points to clinch victory. So Minnetonka will win the first part of this triangular. We know that much. But Garski starting this with a takedown, and that seems to be the theme for Minnetonka against Edina. Edina and Richfield, as we noted, opting to become their own program, so Edina now can join their Lake Conference brethren. Edina and Richfield, of course, neighboring cities in the South Metro. And I spoke with Edina. They have their own mats. They have their own equipment. They just need the wrestlers. And hopefully that will build with time. So even though they're having a rough go at it here against a more established program, Minnetonka having a strong mark this year in the games we were able to find data for. They were 10-5. Eden Prairie is at 26-3. So the data is a little haphazard in the sport of wrestling, but these kids know we may not win a lot of matches now, but we could be the beginning of a foundation. That could produce something that can contend with the likes of Eden Prairie and Minnetonka. Of course, Apple Valley has been the predominant wrestling power in the big class for years. And wrestling, it's a 3-class setup. Apple Valley and Simley are among the top contenders there. Jackson County Central is another one. Frazee is among them. And Garski ends the first period with a 2-0 lead, getting the takedown. We head to the second. And here's something interesting. Sawatsky choosing the up position. Usually don't see that, but Sawatsky thinking this might be a better chance to score. Maybe to get a takedown here or a reversal and maybe tie this up. Just one win for Edina, and that came on Vosbeek's pin. Everything else has gone Minnetonka's way, either through forfeit or through falls. And as you picked up by now, all our periods are 2 minutes in length. 1 point awarded to Garski. 3-0 our score. And once again, the score in the bottom of the screen is the match score. The score up top. The score up top is the team score. The team score, of course, is what factors into the win-loss record. Garski gets the takedown. Give him 2. 5-0. Garski, just like most of the other Minnetonka wrestlers thus far, heavily restricting his opponent. Reached the end of the second. And Garski has a 5-0 lead on Sawatsky. See a few other wrestlers warming up. Well, I see them, you can't, behind the Minnetonka bench as we start the third period of play. And now Sawatsky is going to try to get some riding time on Garski. He's going to have to score some points in a hurry, though, if he wants to win this individual match. And as we noted, even though Minnetonka is going to win the team category, reversal awarded to Garski, so 2 more points. The individual matches can be influential for the section and state tournament rounds. As you know, there's both a team and individual bracket in the state wrestling tournament. Makes for some very intense competition.
Seconds.
15 seconds. Garski getting a lock on Sawatsky now. 3 points for the near fall. And that will wrap up things here. Avery Garski will win 10-0. Minnetonka will get 4 points awarded, making the team score 52-6 with 4 wrestlers to go. Edina will send in Nick Bloom for the 182-pound class. And Minnetonka will send in John Obermiller. I want to let you know that this broadcast is made possible in part by funding from the Mulch Store. Even though it's the middle of winter, it's not too early to start making those springtime landscaping plans, much like Minnetonka has with Edina. The Mulch Store has the best compost in the Midwest and can help with all your landscaping and mulching needs. So make your neighbors green with envy this spring. That's the Mulch Store. Locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee. Or you can go visit us online at mulchstoremn.com. No score yet between Obermiller and Bloom. That may change in a hurry, though. Bloom Having a headlock on Obermiller, trying to bring him down, and instead it's Obermiller who gets the takedown. Bloom just lost his grip of his combatant and now finds himself in the position of stress. So 2 points to Obermiller. And Bloom gives Obermiller a slap. That's all the scoring we're going to get in this first period of play. Obermiller will choose the down position. Bloom will start up top as we begin the second period. Two-point reversal for Obermiller. That's been a common saying. Bloom trying to free himself. But unsuccessful. Obermiller has Bloom in a lock position here. Official surveying. 48 seconds left. Trying to get the head. Obermiller looking to get the head in a position to deny him. You hear the coaches saying, bring the arm back, lift up the head. Very close to getting a fall here. And there it is. Took a while, but Obermiller getting the fall. Another 6 points. All but one of Minnetonka's wins that were not via forfeit have come through pins. So Sam Benkowski at 195 pounds arrives at the mat, and he will face off against Pierce Breedlove. Pierce Breedlove. That's an interesting name. Not one you hear of too often. So it's 58-6. Minnetonka up on Edina, and coming up we'll have Eden Prairie and Minnetonka go at it in our feature match. Not too often you see a late conference school having a rough go of things, but again, when you transition from a co-op to building your own program and trying to get the students there, it takes a while to establish a culture that fosters participation. So this is the first step for Edina, and hopefully what will be a growing line of participation and involvement. It's just like its late conference peers, Edina having a lot of success. You know of their history in tennis. They fielded some competitive basketball schools or basketball teams over the last few years. Still scoreless here at the end of the first. Of course, with these 2-minute periods, doesn't leave a lot of room for leeway. But both Benkowski and Breedlove able to stay on 2 feet for most of the first period. So we end that first period scoreless. And a piece of equipment came loose. So we'll start the second. Breedlove starting in the down position for this one. And he gets the escape. Good for 1 point. We mentioned the cult following that wrestling has. It's a sport that you know a lot about if you're involved in it, and if not, it may seem foreign to you. A few years ago, it was considered for removal on the Olympic roster. But a massive campaign allowed it to maintain its status as an Olympic sport. It was one of the originals. When the Olympic Games were first launched, both players going out of bounds, so we'll resume the match here with 45 seconds left in the second period. The lone difference thus far in the between the two players is Breedlove's escape. That was good for 1. Wrestlers looking almost eye to eye to each other. That has to be quite the sight, going up against somebody that you're trying to bring down. And now they've got themselves trying to get a headlock. Neither wrestler's been able to really bring the other down. We're going to come to the end of the second period. Roughly the way we started. Pierce Breedlove getting an escape, though, in the second period, and that is why he leads 1-0. One more period of play. A little bit of confusion, and Benkowski gets 1 point for the escape. He just got up. The whistle had sounded. Both players froze for a moment, not sure if the period had started or not, but the clock had already begun at that point, so it was an official move. So Benkowski getting a point, perhaps a bit surprisingly. Didn't have to do any work for that escape. Both wrestlers showing their strength and equilibrium. Most of this matchup has featured both wrestlers standing upright. Now Benkowski looking to go on the offensive. Breedlove responds, and Benkowski can't get the takedown for the moment. And they'll have to try again as Breedlove and Benkowski go outside the wrestling circle. You hear the coaches saying 10 seconds, less than that. And both wrestlers competing into a stalemate. And that's what we'll have at the end of 3. 1-1 the score. So that means we have a 1-minute overtime period. But Mike likes to call it the 4th. It is the 4th period of play, but technically speaking, this is the overtime session. But it doesn't make much of a difference here. So as you see, 1 minute to try to break this stalemate, and neither wrestler has been able to do much. Just 2 escapes. No takedowns. Benkowski. Oh, almost had him, but Breedlove able to maintain his footing, and he just trots out of bounds. But Benkowski looking to go more on offense after a defensive stance in regulation. And if the score remains tied at the end of this overtime, then we head to a sudden death format where the first player to score automatically wins. 10 seconds. Wrestlers butt heads again. Neither wrestler, just wrestler able to get much of an advantage here. So now we'll head to a second overtime. We head to a second overtime of 30 seconds. And this is sudden death, so the first player to score. Whoa! Breedlove flipped, trying to do the same to Benkowski. No points yet. And this is the first time that either wrestler's been on the ground. Still no points. 10 seconds. And we'll continue to have these 30-second extra periods. And the escape is awarded to Benkowski. And that should be enough. I guess it wasn't sudden death, but it doesn't matter. Benkowski on another escape. And he finally gets... Or no. Nope, they're going to give Breedlove the chance to even it up. And he does. It's been a while since I've called wrestling, so a little rusty on how the procedures work, but a series of escapes, and they seem to be adding in degree of difficulty as both wrestlers are showing off their flexibility. A lot of somersaults. So we're going to end still even, 2-2. So we'll try this again, we think. These 30-second overtimes persist. Breedlove will take the down position. Benkowski will go on the up. Breedlove will try to get the escape. This is officially our 4th overtime. Now you see the audience getting more into it, as this is a fun strategical duel. And it's always fun to have a battle of wits amidst the feats of strength these wrestlers display. Breedlove on the escape, and that is sudden death. After 4 overtimes, Pierce Breedlove finally wins 3-2. Good for 3 points in the team score. We'll now head to the 220-pound class between Michael Carlson, and he'll go up against Jacob Dahl. Michael Carlson from Edina, Jacob Dahl from Minnetonka. 61-6 is our score, and we're underway here in the 220-pound division. We'll get the names updated here in a moment. Well, that was a lot of fun. And it's good to see that level of grit, even for a team that maybe understands we're probably not going to win today, but we still have a lot to play for and a lot to learn, and we're not going to continue. We're going to continue that learning process no matter how many wrestlers are available. Once more, if you want to send me a tweet, you can do so at TheSportsBrain. That is TheSportsBrain. And Carlson and Dahl. Oh, they're not putzing around in a headlock here. Carlson trying to get underneath Dahl's leg and will not do so. They go out of bounds. We're back to the 2-minute periods for the time being. Well, Edina seems to be more resilient in the higher classes, at least based on this display. But Jacob Dahl sneaks in with a takedown at the end of the first. So Jacob Dahl will enter the second period with a 2-0 lead over Michael Carlson, getting the takedown just before time expired. Now a reminder, at the conclusion of this contest, or of this, we will have the Eden Prairie and Minnetonka wrestlers take the floor, and it'll follow the format of the first one. And our first stoppage in play, so we'll reset here with 1:53. The official gives the explanation. Dahl will go back to the down position, and the official has a laugh about it. There's a certain sense of camaraderie here at this sport. Dahl 1 point on the escape. 3-0. And Dahl with another 2 for the takedown. That will give him a 6-0 advantage. No, that should say that was Carlson. I was mistaken there. So it's 3-2, Dahl over Carlson. And a series of takedowns, a 3-point takedown for Carlson, Jacob Dahl with a 2-point takedown. So a pair of takedowns, and now it's 6-5. A lot of scoring here to start the second period, and it's been a little difficult to keep up with. A flurry of scoring plays at the end of the first, and now in this second period, and 6-5 is our score. Carlson trying to bring Dahl down to the ground, and he does for 2. 8-5 is our score. They go out of bounds. Oh, and a stoppage in play. Blood. So let's go take a quick break. And we'll be back for this triangular.
Stay current on what's going on in your local community. The Sun Current is a local community newspaper that serves several communities in the Southwest Metro, including Eden Prairie, Edina, and Bloomington. The Sun Current will keep you up to date with the latest comings and goings on your school board, city council, arts and entertainment, and community events. And make sure you check out their in-depth high school sports coverage featuring weekly articles on Eden Prairie, Edina, Jefferson, and Kennedy. From football and hockey to tennis and swimming, the Sun Current has your favorite team covered. Keep it local and visit the Sun Current website at current.mnsun.com.
And we're back in our first injury stoppage in this Lake Conference Triangular featuring Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, and Edina. We're still in the Edina-Minnetonka phase of this triangular. And what happened? Jacob Dahl was spotted with some blood, and that had to get cleaned up. So each team has 5 minutes of injury time, so to speak, of stoppage time in such situations. And when that occurs, that clock ticks down. So Minnetonka had up to 5 minutes to correct the problem. But it was patched up in about 31 seconds. Jacob Dahl getting one more point before the end of the second. Getting an escape. Jacob Dahl, the master of late game, late period scoring plays. Carlson will start in the down position. Dahl will start in the up. And Jacob Dahl appears to have the advantage thus far. Dahl has Carlson in the count mode. So Dahl's going to score a few points here, at least for the near fall if he can't get it. And he gets 3 points for the near fall. We knew Dahl was going to get some, and that's going to give Dahl the lead, something he hasn't had in some time. So Dahl with a 9-8 advantage. Again, this is academic in context of the team score, and Dahl has him again. Carlson maybe running out of steam. Had a strong showing against Jacob Dahl in the first 2 periods, but it'd be used up. 3 more points for the near fall. And it looks like Jacob Dahl is going to get a win out of this, eking one out after being spotted with blood and trailing 8-5 late in the second. But an escape and 2 near falls have changed that tune. Reversal, Michael Carlson scoring 2, and he has 16 seconds. If he can get at least a near fall, he could score some more points here, but he's going to have to do it soon. 10 seconds now. And it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Dahl, if he can just, well, that's what he did. All Dahl had to do was just hold his balance for the last few seconds, and he would get out of this with a win. But a very hard-fought match that went all 3 periods. And the 2 wrestlers greet each other afterward. That was a well-played match, and applause on both sides. Carlson gave Dahl a considerable challenge, but Dahl won out, getting those 2 near falls in the 3rd period. One more class, the heavyweights. And no, I don't have a pun for any of this. That's the other kind of wrestling. The heavyweights will be Ashley Conan. Or Conan Ashley, I should say, yes. Conan Ashley and Devin Hunt. It's been tougher for Minnetonka. They've had to settle for a couple of three-point wins, including a thriller between Pierce Breedlove. I'm going to get these names mixed up here. Pierce Breedlove and Sam Benkowski, and then the match you just saw with Jacob Dahl and Michael Carlson was no less entertaining. 2-point takedown awarded to Devin Hunt, and that begins the scoring in our heavyweight competition. So Edina seems to be pretty well poised in the later classes, or in the higher classes, I should say. It's the lower classes where they have some work to do, and they'll get there. Again, 4 gaps, that doesn't help when you're starting off or going on your own, as Edina chose to do. Never an easy transition to make. .30 seconds on the clock. Hunt not able to get Ashley in a perilous position, but he does have that takedown to start things. Ashley trying to rise up and maybe get a reversal, but it doesn't appear he'll be able to do so before the period expires. So Devin Hunt will have a 2-0 lead to start the second period. Ashley in the down position to start the second period. Rather uneventful start to the second period. And the position you're seeing right now is the effective summary of this match. Hunt not able to get many scoring chances in, but he's preventing Ashley from tabulating points on his end. Ashley getting the reversal, and he'll get some points for the near fall here. Wow, this is a big change, and Devin Hunt went from controller to helpless in the span of a few seconds, so Ashley gets the fall, And Minnetonka will defeat Edina by a final score of 70-6. Another fall for the Skippers. And that was the story of this match. Other wrestlers who got falls were Jake Finken, Kyle Finken, Jake McGann, John Drum, and James Agan all recorded falls as well. 70-6 is our final, but our coverage is not over just yet. This is Eden Prairie after all, so the Minnetonka wrestlers will get some time to rest up and take the mat again to battle their hardened Lake Conference rival Eden Prairie High School. That will take place in a few minutes. In a little while, we'll keep you updated. In the meantime, we'll want to remind you that you can always follow our coverage on PSBMN. Just click the schedule link to find out where we will be headed to next. In about 20 minutes, of course, the Eden Prairie boys hockey team will take on the Edina Hornets at the Eden Prairie Community Center. A very busy night here in the land of the Eagles. And before we go to break, we want to let you know that this broadcast is made possible in part by Brandy Warm Beer of State Farm Insurance. Her office covering the Southwest Metro will save you hundreds with the discount double check. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Aaron Rodgers. I tease. Whether it's auto, renters, home, or life, Brandy and the rest of the team will get you all the best deals. Brandy Warm Beer, local connection, lower cost. Visit brandywarmbeer.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So we'll take some time to acknowledge our sponsors, and we'll come back with Eden Prairie and Minnetonka in the Lake Conference Triangular. Stay tuned. You're watching High School Wrestling on PSB Sports.
Great food and great sports. It's the Tavern on 4 and 5 in Eden Prairie. This season, the Tavern on 4 and 5 will be showing PSB broadcasts of Eden Prairie football and hockey on their big screen TVs. So make it a night out. Get some great food while watching your Eden Prairie Eagles at the Tavern on 4 and 5. Some of their classics include the Mediterranean Pizza, Tavern Turkey Burger, as well as delicious breakfasts that are served 7 days a week. That's the Tavern on 4 and 5, just blocks from Eden Prairie High School.
This is the best dirt bath ever!
Larry, what's with all that racket?
I'm loving my new digs. This compost is amazing. Come on in, give it a try.
What are you talking about? Oh yeah, you weren't kidding, Larry. This stuff is great.
The Mulch Store has compost your garden, and yes, even the worms will love. Stop by any of the Mulch Store locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee to pick up the best compost in the Midwest. Online at mulchstoremn.com. Also shop rocks, seed, soil, edging, and more. Now's the time to make your neighbors green with envy.
Store locations in Burnsville, Minnetrista, Rosemount, and Shakopee.
portion. We did not stream that as we just got through that. And as you can tell, the big difference between the first match and the second one, this is a customary tradition at high schools using a single light. So it's going to make the wrestlers a little harder to see as a result. I guess I prefer the more traditionally lit gyms, but this is a custom unique to the sport. Not quite like, well, a little bit like boxing or professional, although professional wrestling. Let's be honest. With those big events and those big stadiums, you don't really have those single lights because you need a little more. But with boxing arenas and some of the smaller scale wrestling events, this is similar to what they do. But it's a trait you find in any other sport. You couldn't make it work in a sport like basketball or volleyball or badminton, where you need a few more lights in order to operate efficiently. They're going through the introductions of starters right now, and as you can see, our first match will be the 106-pound class between Jake Finken and Aaron Tim. And there are 14 in all. We do not have any gaps, so we will have all 14 matches in this one. Minnetonka defeated Edina in the first part of this triangular, winning 70-6. Not very close, especially in the early rounds. A lot of pins, and then there were a few forfeits. Edina, of course, still building their way up top. Eden Prairie having a couple co-head coaching system of sorts. Scott Davis officially is the head coach, but he and a few others broke away from Apple Valley, the premier wrestling school in the state in Class 3A, and trying to bring that same level of success here. Still going through introductions, and we will have names for you as we go on. We're introducing each class, of course, and in the case of having more than one wrestler on the varsity roster, only one will be chosen to represent each class. We want to let you know that this broadcast is made possible in part by funding from Noodles & Company. Noodles & Company now has catering with home delivery available. Each Noodles bar features the items needed for your event and for your guests. More information about catering and the Noodles bar available at noodles.com/catering. And we want to remind you that going on right now, if you're looking for hockey coverage, head to our other channel where PSB is hosting Eden Prairie and Edina hockey. That is taking place just down the block here at the Eden Prairie Community Center. But if you are looking for wrestling, you have found the right place. So just like before, up to 3 2-minute periods and then overtime if needed. And even if a team is mathematically ensured or assured of a victory, they will compete in every class because they all have individual bearings that will be calculated for the state tournament.
Jim Jackson, assistants Jeff Becker, Jeff Howard, Jafari Veneer, Wade Prescott, John Holloway, Tom McClare, and Derek Scala.
And we are going to get things started now between our two combatants. Aaron Tim of Eden Prairie and Jake Finken of Minnetonka, a pair of 8th graders, get things underway. Teams can score anywhere from 3 to 6 points in each individual match, and the final team score will determine the winner. And if you need a refresher on the scoring breakdown, it's 3 points for a decision, 4 points for a major, and that is a win of 8 points or more in an individual match. If we get to 15 or above, then it's a technical fall, a TKO, and a pin is worth 6. Aaron Tim with our first scoring play of this match, getting the takedown. And to help you disseminate what is what, the score on the bottom of the screen is the match score. The upper right corner will show the team score as the match moves on. This should be closer than the 70-6 runaway that Minnetonka posted over Edina. End of the first period. And Aaron Tim's 2-point takedown gives them the 2-0 lead. He will start in the down position. Most of the wrestlers for Minnetonka competed earlier against Edina, but with the matches being as short as they are, fatigue isn't as much of a concern because the wrestlers don't play more than 6 minutes, barring overtime. Jake Finken trying to get a takedown on Tim. As you see, trying to reach underneath his leg to restrict movement. Eden Prairie fans thought Tim might have had a reversal. And that's exactly what happens. Tim does get the reversal. Our first update for those of you who are interested in the Edina-Eden Prairie score. Edina leading 2-0 with 7 minutes left in the first period. But the action on here paints a much different picture. So far, it's been dominated by Aaron Tim with a couple of takedowns. It should also be pointed out that in each individual match, you can score up to 3 points on one move. End of the third, and Aaron Tim now has a 4-0 lead over Jake Finken by virtue of 2 takedowns. Finken trying to commence a reversal. Tim would have none of it. Tim tried to wrap the thigh of Finken up and restrict movement. Unable to do so, but he's doing fine. And if he can hold his ground, he will give Eden Prairie their first win. But as we noted, because of the difference in scoring, every point matters. So Tim, if he can try to get a few more points, you know he's certainly going to look for that and try to get Eden Prairie as many points as possible. But with 10 seconds left, it doesn't appear we're going to have much of a shift in this match. Aaron Tim will be our first winner as the wrestlers almost go out of bounds, but it will not make a difference. Eden Prairie winning the first match. Aaron Tim wins 4-0, and Eden Prairie will get 3 points to start this matchup. So with that, we'll head to the 113-pound class, and that will feature Logan Reniger and John Knutson. Knutson, an 8th grader, Reniger, a junior for the Skippers. So we're underway here. John Knutson and Logan Reniger. And this lighting setup that we have probably has our engineer very happy for backlit keyboards. Reniger. Out of bounds again. Jose Reniger was trying to sweep his opponent underneath by getting the leg up and setting up the takedown, but John Knutson holding his ground so far against his older competitor. Score still 0-0 in the first period. And so far, this first period has more out-of-bounds plays than scoring plays. No takedown is awarded. Now it is. And you may have heard Josh Free, at least I did, on the Minnetonka bench, calling for one. And Logan Reniger with the first scoring play of this match. 5.3 seconds left. Not a whole lot of time for either wrestler. And the first period ends with Reniger up 2-0 over John Knutson. Knutson will start in the down position. Reniger will start in the up position. And if you can see the official in the midst of all our graphics, when he signals with pointed fingers pointing up, that is an indication to log those points for a particular wrestler. John Knutson getting the escape And it's 2-1. Reniger still with the edge, and you see a few flashes going off from the cameras. With the setup that we have, it's a little trickier to avoid flash photography. But this sport a little different than basketball. And Reniger responds with a takedown of Knutson, 4-1. As you see them right in front of us here, our vantage point is our vantage point is the scores table. And as we said, each point is important. Reniger going for another takedown, and he succeeds in doing so. They'll go out of bounds again. They do not like staying in one place for too long. Reniger with 3 takedowns. 6-3 is our score. Reniger going for the dive. Now Knutson may have an edge here with 27 seconds left in the second period. Reniger grabs his foe and holds him down for another 2. His 4th takedown, and Reniger now leads 8-3 over Knutson, and we're getting to that range where this could be crucial for the Skippers. Out of bounds again. Knutson with another escape. That'll be our last scoring play of the second, but Reniger padding his lead somewhat. 8-4 is our score now. We'll start the third now. And it begins with a reversal from Reniger. It's 10-4. And it looks like he may have Knutson in a vulnerable position. Fans are cheering him on. Now the coaches coming out of their seats, encouraging Reniger. And he's going to look like he was going to get some riding time. Now he does. .115 left. Reniger's going to score some points out of this. The question is, can he get the pin? Near fall, 3 points. Now he's in the range where he would be in a major decision, and Minnetonka would take the lead if Reniger can hang on to this advantage. 13-4. It's a fall for Reniger. Reniger did not compete against Edina because there was a blank spot, and with 44.7 left in the third period, the Skippers take a 6-3 lead by virtue of the pin. Our next duo, J.J. Vitia against Henry Bixler in the 120-pound class. J.J. Vesha, I should say, not Vitia. 120-pound class, and 6-3 is our score. We'll get that updated, and we'll get that updated for you shortly, as we can only do so much here. But Vitia, well, this could be a very quick update. Vitia already pinning Bixler to the mat. No fall has been awarded yet, but he's scoring a lot of points. still has him in his grasp. Four to 1 the score right now, but that could change in a moment. The official surveying, waiting for the requirements. And now Bixler almost freed himself. But Vaisha refuses to let him go. It can be so frustrating. You want to get that pin. Oh, Bixler almost had another one. Near fall, 3 points, so it's 7 to 1 is our score in favor of Vaisha. He almost had Bixler down for a pin in the first period. 7-1 our score between Bixler and Vaisha. Things settled down for a moment, but a strong start by J.J. Vaisha, and Henry Bixler finds himself in a bind. 7 to 1 as we move to the second period. In the 120-pound class, there are 14 classes in all, so a maximum of 84 points can be awarded to each team. Now Bixler had the edge for a moment, but instead Vaisha usurps him, and he is just dominating this one with a 3-point takedown. He's going to get more points for this near fall if he does not record the pin. 12 to 1, and even if he doesn't get the fall, Vaisha is closing in on the technical fall. In any event, this would give Eden Prairie the lead back if Vaisha can finish the job. Official still waiting to make a ruling. Vaisha has come close several times to recording a pin, but Bixler able to escape in each instance. Another one. 15 to 1 is our score, so the next time Vaisha scores, this match would end automatically. And it's probably going to, because he's getting him on his back. And it will. 2 points for another near fall. And by technical knockout, or technical fall I should say, not TKO, J.J. Vaisha with a 17 to 1 score. 5 points awarded to Eden Prairie. And it's 8 to 6. So the technical fall taking place in the second period. We now head to the 126-pound class, with Chris Tim of Eden Prairie going up against Jake McGann and the Piano Man. And Chris Tim begins with a takedown. We've got our score up to date now. Our engineer earning his money's worth. Or his food, in today's game. No, Mike's been doing a great job managing what can be a very tricky sport to keep track of in terms of scoring. A lot more tricky than basketball or football or even baseball. A lot of things to manage and not a lot of time to do it. Stoppage in play with 28.5 left in the first period between McGann and Chris Tim. Tim and McGann, senior and junior respectively. Buzzer sounds, and Tim will have a 2-0 lead to begin the second period. He'll start in the down position. McGann will start in the up spot. And if you haven't figured it out by now, EP wearing the red, Minnetonka wearing the blue. And the wrestlers go out of bounds. That stops the clock with 46.6. And don't forget, if you want to send us a shout-out, you can do so at The Sports Brain. The Sports Brain, all one word, no underscores, no spaces. Feel free to send us your tweets, and we will perhaps read them on the air. I'd like to find out where our fans are watching this. And you can also get updates on all of our coverage by following PSB on Twitter at PSBMN, Perfect Storm Broadcasting. Appeared to be an illegal touch, so we will reset with Tim in the down position. McGann in the up. Tim trying to get a reversal. And he succeeds. And that will be the end of the second period. Chris Tim with a 4-0 edge over Jake McGann. So we'll start the third. Changing order. And it doesn't look like McGann's going to escape the grasp of Chris Tim. Or will he? He does. That's his first point. Now they're in a headlock. Just on the out-of-bounds skirts. And it looks like they're going to head out of there. Both wrestlers have to be out of bounds, though, for the whistle to play. And now that was the case. They were in a position where it was virtually assured they were going to go out of bounds. And that means the wrestlers start in a neutral position. No points awarded. Minnetonka was hoping for a takedown, but it took place out of bounds, so that scoring attempt is null. Two points on a takedown for Jake McGann. 4-3 now with 35 seconds. A lot of time. And McGann concedes an escape to Chris Tim, presumably so he could get a favorable position and maybe get a takedown. And doing so would tie this up, but they're going to go out of bounds. 18.3 seconds left. 5-3. McGann needs a takedown to tie it, as a fall is out of the question at this point. And McGann's not going to get there in time. Chris Tim holds his ground, and he will win on a decision. 5-3 the match score, and Eden Prairie will take an 11-6 lead in the team score through 4 classes. Very tight wrestling thus far. All but one class, I take that back. 2 classes were decided prematurely. 2 have gone the full 6. Justin Craswell for Eden Prairie will battle Kyle Finken. Kyle Finken, the 8th grader. Justin Craswell, the junior. Kyle Finken from Minnetonka. Craswell from Eden Prairie. Eden Prairie, one of the top programs this year in wrestling, and Minnetonka is not far behind. Of course, the Lake Conference produces a lot of talent. Craswell grabs his defender, throws him down for the takedown. That's 2 points thus far. He's going to get more for some riding time at least. He might even get a pin here if he can hold down Finken trying to get out of bounds to reset the formation, and he does, but he gives up 5 points in the process. 2 points on the takedown, 3 points on the near fall. That is a worm I would not want to be a part of. That's a very squiggly situation. But Craswell in control from the opening whistle. 30 seconds, and now he has Finken in a bind again. But can he constrict him for the pin? We've only seen one thus far. Eden Prairie cheering him on. Finken just wants to get out of this period. And he does. But 3 points will be awarded for the near fall, so Craswell will get an 8-0 advantage to start the second. And he's already in the position to get some bonus points for the Eagles. He'll start in the down position. Kyle Finken will start in the up. Craswell had Finken in a near pin twice, but could not finish in either occasion. Kyle Finken was able to get out of bounds the first time, and Craswell ran out of time in the second instance. Finken completed against Edina, but Craswell continuing his domination. An all-out showcase of superiority for Justin Craswell, the junior. He gets 2 points for the takedown, 3 more for the near fall. 13-0. If he gets another takedown or pretty much another scoring play, and it will be a fall or a technical fall. We get that updated on the screen for you. So even if he doesn't get the pin, Craswell could get Eden Prairie a lot of bonus points here. But he needs another near fall of some kind, whether it's a reversal or takedown or, again, getting some riding time. Any of those instances would be enough, and it looks like Craswell is going to get that. So this will be the final play of this match, because even if he escapes, as Finken does, Craswell scoring 3 points, that's enough for the technical fall. So this match will end in the second period. Craswell on the technical. And Eden Prairie up 16-6 as we head to the 138-pound class. Featuring Captain Bren Brancale for Eden Prairie going up against John Drum. Drum recorded a pin in his match with Edina earlier. And Minnetonka leading 6-3 early on, finds themselves trailing by 10, and Eden Prairie is all over. Now, as we noted before, Eden Prairie having some former Apple Valley coaches, and the Apple Valley, it's no secret how well they have established that program, all the state championships there, and now that talent is starting to spread. And Bren Brancale with an early 4-1 edge. A couple of takedowns. He's going to get some 3 points on the near fall. He did concede an escape to John Drum, and it's 7-1 by the first minute. And Brancale's going to get more. Minnetonka stumped Brancale with the fall. And this meet moving through swiftly. Bren Brancale with his 100th career pin. It's confirmed by the public address announcer. 1 minute and 5 seconds was all he needed, and John Drum will be hearing drums in his ears and maybe some other sounds after that. We move to the 145-pound class now. Nick Schneider going up against James Agan. And this match moving very quickly with all of these premature finishes. You can thank Eden Prairie for that. TKO. And the last 4 matches, 2 TKs, 2 technical falls, and then a pin. Now we have a stoppage for blood. Each team gets 5 minutes of injury time to repair that. So we will pause momentarily once we get the information entered in and take a break, a quick one. This is high school wrestling on PSB Sports. Well, it's a very quick break. Only 30 seconds of time was needed, and our engineer had to get the correct information entered in our graphics. So we're going to get that cleaned up, and the official making sure every spot is wiped up and on a white wrestling surface. Finding blood stains is not hard. Official says we're good. Of course, blood is a safety concern. Always has been. So we'll resume action here with 1:34 left in the first period between Agan and Schneider. And then when you make as much contact as they do, this sport just as dirty as football is. 2-point takedown awarded to Nick Schneider. And the reign of supremacy in this match is continuing for the Eagles. Of course, this figured to be a tougher challenge for Minnetonka, competing against an Edina team that is still in the building stages against a more established squad where Eden Prairie falls. This is officially the halfway point after this, so that means that Minnetonka, if they're not able to come back here, they could run out of time and perhaps even run out of opportunities to score a win for themselves. But entering this game, based on the data that was available, Eden Prairie only lost 3 matches all season coming into this, and stoppage in play here was 6.8 seconds. Not enough time to do much, so time will expire. But Nick Schneider with a 2-0 lead over James Agan in the 145-pound class. Schneider deferring to Agan, and Agan chooses to take the down position. Since he's only down by 2, if he gets an escape, that's 1 point, and that could set him up for another scoring chance. Agan unable to free himself through 30 seconds. So far, a more even matchup. Now Agan does get free. It took him nearly 1 minute and 30 seconds to do so, but he gets a point. And now it's a 2-1 score. Schneider's margin down to 1. Agan now going low, but Schneider stops him. And Schneider had him in a headlock that was not compatible with rules, so we will reset in the neutral position. Schneider with a takedown to end the second period. And that will give him a 4-1 lead as we get ready for the third. Schneider will start in the down position. Agan will start up. Smattering of fans here at Eden Prairie. Of course, the Eagles, their biggest fan base, probably football and hockey. Lacrosse also has a considerable following. But EP is one of the definitions of success around these parts. nothing doing in the third, and that would suit Schneider fine because that would give EP another 3 points. And this is eating away time that Aiken could use to rally back. Coach and teammates shouting encouragement to Aiken. But it may not be enough. It will not be enough. Schneider holding his ground in the third. And Eden Prairie with another victory. And a match victory seems, or meet victory seems more and more likely. As a 4-1 score gives Eden Prairie 3 points as we head to the 152-pound class.
Now representing 152 pounds, Minnetonka Gray Leafy for Eden Prairie.
Ben Matsui, the junior, will battle Gray Litke of Minnetonka.